What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Dr. D-Dub here, and today we're going to be taking a look at everything we know about crops and farming in general in Farm Folks as of July 16th, 2018. As this game is still in pre-alpha, there's not a whole lot we know, but I've done my best to scour the internet and compile everything I could possibly find regarding farming in Farm Folks for you guys. I'll do my best to include links to all the relevant articles and documents I used for reference in the description below. This video is going to contain a mix of confirmed features in the game, as well as a little bit of speculation on my part, but I'll do my best to clearly indicate whether I'm speaking my mind or confirmed facts. With that being said, let's get right into it. Before you can start growing crops, you first need seeds. Seeds are confirmed to be both purchasable as well as forageable. The seeds for each season can be purchased from Gilbert, the owner of Gilbert's Goods, which is presumably the general store in Port Meridia, and I'm going to guess that the forageable seeds will be handled similarly to how they are in Stardew Valley, where each foraged seed has a chance of growing an in-season forageable good, but like I said, that's pure speculation. Once you have seeds in hand, you'll need to till the available soil in order to plant them. Plants will need to be watered daily, either by hand or through other means. When first starting out, it's safe to assume that our watering can will only water one tile at a time, as is pretty standard in most all farming sims, at least the ones I've played. We know that tools can be upgraded, however, and in this clip right here, you can see the player standing in the center of a 5x5 grid with the corner tiles missing, and watering all crops in that area in one animation, which is nice to see. As I mentioned though, crops can also be watered by means other than a watering can. At this time, the only confirmed method of watering your crops other than by hand is with sprinklers. We know nothing about how expensive these will be to create, the area that they'll water, or if multiple types of sprinklers can be crafted, but we do know that they can be crafted from materials that the player can acquire through mining. The Kickstarter page also mentions that the farming process can be enhanced and streamlined, though I'm not sure what this could be referring to outside of sprinklers and fertilizer. Speaking of fertilizer, you will be able to obtain fertilizer to use on your crops, presumably from the general store or another vendor, or, and this method has indeed been confirmed, you can produce it yourself right on your very own farm. The process, however, is something we do know how to do, but is unfortunately a topic for another video. Fertilizer will give your plants a big boost and make them more valuable. What types of statistics the crops will have, however, we aren't sure of at this time. It could be a simple basic good, better, best type system like we see in Stardew Valley with the different colored stars, silver, gold, and iridium. Or it could be something more in-depth than that. We're not sure. All we know is that fertilizer will make our crops higher quality. At this point in time, there are only 10 crops that are confirmed to be in the game. However, the devs have stated that they plan to have 40 to 50 crops in the game at release. To put that into perspective, Stardew Valley currently has 36 crops, including all the flowers and special crops like ancient fruit and sweet gem berries, but excluding trees. The 10 confirmed crops that will for sure be making an appearance in Farm Folks are carrots, corn, turnips, cabbage, grapes, no, not a different looking turnip, but it's actually radishes, sunflowers, beans, or green beans as I've always called them, tomatoes, and last but not least, cauliflower. As with every farming sim I've ever played, the crops in Farm Folks will be divided into 4 categories: spring, summer, fall, and winter crops, with presumably far fewer viable crops in the winter season. The player will have the ability to access a greenhouse at some point, allowing for the planting of all crops regardless of season. As far as the greenhouse is concerned, we know nothing more than that it exists. We've been given no word as of yet on how to acquire it, how large it will be, if we build it or unlock it, or if it's locked behind some sort of time gate. For example, you can't get it until year 2 at the earliest, etc. Whether you have a greenhouse or not though, assuming you put in the time and effort to water your crops daily, they will eventually reach maturity, at which point it's time to reap the fruits and vegetables of your labor. We don't know anything about how crops will be harvested yet, although I think it's safe to assume that it won't be anything revolutionary, which is not a bad thing by any means. Once you've harvested your crops though, you then have to decide what you want to do with them. You can use them to cook with, further process them, the only example of which we have so far is turning grapes into wine, or of course, you can sell them. If you choose to sell your crops, you'll need to load up your produce on your trusty mount and head into town to sell them to the island's exporters in exchange for coin. the same coin that you can then use to turn around and hire some help around the farm. We don't know anything about how farmhands will work yet or the farmhand system, how much they'll cost, what tasks they can help with, etc. But I would guess they'd be able to do most everything, such as watering and harvesting crops, tending to and collecting products from your animals, and possibly even converting some of your crops and animal produce into artisan goods. Again, this is all just speculation on my part. In addition to farmhands, if you choose to get married and have a kid, your kid can help around the farm as well. I'm guessing they'll be able to do the same tasks as a farmhand, but this is still yet to be confirmed. Last but not least is the much discussed and anticipated topic of farm layout. Some people seem to think there are fixed plots, judging by screenshots such as these, where you have one large plot on the left there, and two smaller ones on the right. But if you look closely in this clip, you can see a small plot that looks different than the two small plots pictured in the previous screenshot. I'm thinking that plots will be handled something along the lines as follows. When you decide to build a plot, you'll enter into a bird's eye view of sorts of your farm and see a grid overlaid on the ground. You'll then be able to drag and drop a farm plot with dimensions of your choosing onto the available farmland. The only thing we know for sure is that Mitch, the lead developer of FarmFolks, favors giving the player freedom, so it's not unlikely that we'll be able to set our own plots for both farming and for animal pastures. Alright though, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the video. That was all the info I could scrounge up, but it's certainly possible I missed something, so if I did, feel free to add it to the comments below so we can keep all farming related information in one place. Also, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them as well, and I will do my best to answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll be back with some more FarmFolks content for you guys very soon, but until then, as always, take care.